I love lying down.
No
It's
change
probably about
there.
10 years ago. About 10 years ago.
In London?
Yeah, Dad got an award for the Parliamentary Jazz Awards thing. I
Right.
think he did. Or he was always
Did you play?
No. Or he was nominated. I can't remember. Anyway, I went down with him, with Dad. And I think Dad stayed over and I went out with Reuben and we ended up going to Ronnie's with Tom. That was the... I think that was the night. That might have been a different night.
Yeah, can't quite remember.
What, with Walsh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was there?
Yeah, it was definitely a night. I told you before, there was a night where you neither of you can remember it, but we went to Ronnie's upstairs, got hammered, and I stayed at your house.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the spare room, and it was
I
covered
can
in
remember that
laundry.
now.
And I think that's when it was about the time that he did the Jazz Witch thing.
Right.
Jazz Witch.
That was funny. Have you still got that?
Funniest.
Have you got it on your phone?
I've got it somewhere.
It's got that on the hard drive.
Got a hard drive of doom.
You've
at
got
home.
to show that to
Right,
Mark.
come on, let's just get to let's do the record.
Right.
Let's have a bit of professionalism.
It really is.
Yeah, a bit of professionalism. That's what I want. Okay.
So there was a very special moment on this album, which I missed. So I want to talk about that. We're on to Body and Soul now, track six on the CD. I know it's slightly different on the vinyl. Andy Vinter, who has been on nearly every album we've ever done, I think, obviously helped us out on piano. And we did a track called Body and Soul, which is a Bob Florence arrangement of the jazz standard Body and Soul. But it's not a ballad, it's up-tempo. No, it's medium tempo. So anyway, I think when we got to this point, I wasn't on that one and I'd played on every track up until that point. So I was just gagging for a coffee or a break or something. So I left and went up the road to get something to eat and got a coffee. And when I came back, I think you lot had just put Body and Soul down and you were having a break. And I think it was Mark Sabin. I came in the studio and everyone was just mulling around and Mark Sabin was like, I can't believe what I've just heard. I went, what happened? Like, I thought something bad had happened. And he went, honestly, mate. And he was emotional. And he was like, I've never heard anything like it. And it transpires that what had happened was you'd gone in to do Body and Soul. Because it starts with a piano intro, that bit had never been rehearsed. So no one had ever really listened to a piano intro. And apparently you sat down to record. Andy's in the booth and plays this intro in one take that you hear is on the album, and it's just absolutely amazing.
It was like magic.
Yeah,
it was magic. We thought that because he embellishes the tune. He plays the whole sort of sequence and plays the tune. That's as it is on the original Bob Florence recording of it. So that's what we're going to do. So like you say, if we were rehearsing it, it's just down to the pianist. You'd probably do it once or whatever. But I thought that he would have done a couple just to
get into
pick,
it,
just so we had a few to pick from. But it was just like you could have heard a pin drop. We were all just like sat there listening to it. It was just like magic. And he got to the end when he gets to the end of the sequence and he's just on like a pause chord or whatever he's on, and then he sort of stopped the piano and there's a couple of seconds of silence and then everybody was just like couldn't really speak. It was just perfect, and it was like, right, we don't need another one of them, don't do another one.
So
and that's the one.
You didn't go into the tune from there then?
No, we didn't. We were always
probably a good thing.
No, we were always going to do that section
that.
And then start the tune from where the blowers, from where the rhythms start.
Good idea. So everyone was just basically dumbfounded.
Yeah.
What did Andy do?
We had the other part of it was we never played it with Andy before, so we didn't know what he was going to do. So I think that's why we thought, well, we'll let him do his thing a couple of times so we get the feel for where we're going to come into it from. But we just got to the end of it. It was just like, it's just perfect. Don't touch that at all. And then we started putting down the tune from there. Mega, great, amazing. It's one of my most memorable points on the album. That
I think it was a special moment for a lot of people, really, you know.
Yeah. You should have tasted this coffee I had, though.
Oh, God, that's awful.
I'm so gutted about that. And then obviously I heard it. I purposefully didn't listen to the album when you were mixing it. I know I could have listened to certain things that were flying about, and I made a promise to myself, I'm not going to listen to it till it's finished. Like, I've done my bit. I don't want to have anything to do with the mix. Thank you very much, because I don't know what I'm doing when I'm mixing anyway. It's not, but I just thought I wanted space between that and when I hear it, which I'm sure you guys needed as well after you did what you did.
Ours was like different.
Yeah, I get that. We'll talk about that because I want to talk about that in another episode. But yeah, so when I heard the body and soul thing, I was like, oh my God. Imagine being sat there when he did it. I can totally imagine how great that was. And it's amazing.
Jez captures the sound of that piano like so well. So you can really feel what we felt in the room that day.
Even on the recording, it sounds like you sat in the booth with him.
Yeah. Well, that was one of those, another one of those moments. And I think, we've alluded to it, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But Jeremy, we were just so lucky to have him involved in the project, not just as an engineer, because he was so good, I think, at keeping morale and keeping spirits up, because he's such a nice and personable guy, and giving great feedback on all the takes, and sort of always knowing exactly how hard to push the band if really we needed another take,
It's a real art form, that, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. But also, when we got into the mixing, the thing is, the technology is so advanced now, like, which we've talked about a little bit on other things, that you really, if you wanted, you could do anything. You could completely artificially,
Note by note.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think part of the genius about Jez is he's such a musical guy, and that was something that came up in the studio. That Al Wood was chatting with Jeremy, and Jez is a guitarist, and they were talking about music, and I remember Al picking up on that he is like not just a fantastic engineer, but a great musician as well, musical ears, and he just has a way of whatever it is enhancing it. And I remember that performance of Andy's was so gorgeous, and we all felt like, you don't need to even touch that. And I remember he was just EQing something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And it was like, it was almost like, Minority Report with the screen and the...
Right.
But
we called it going into the Matrix. When we were in that sort of setting, when we were in the mixing, the editing, the mixing stages with him, the three of us would be sat there, and he'd sort of quietly say, right, I'm about to go into the Matrix, and then you just watch all the numbers coming down like that, and then he'd play it back, and it'd just be like he'd just polished it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I want to talk about that in another one. I want to go into a bit more detail about that, because obviously, other than you two and Jeremy, no one was privy to those sessions, and most people, even musicians, certainly myself, won't know actually what is involved in doing that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we talk about that. But yeah, Jeremy, I mean, I just felt that he put me at ease as a musician. You put enough pressure on yourself when you're in that situation. You know that, I fluffed that, or that could have been a bit better, or my section are not doing this, but he was like, just like, never flustered or flapping. It was just like, really chilled out.
Yeah.
Really supportive, and would get the best out of you. Would push you, but in a way that you didn't feel you were being pushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was a very good influence. Like sort of person to have about in the studio.
Yeah.
Very calming.
We'll wind up for Body and Soul. I mean, we've not even talked about the rest of the piece. I think the intro is, obviously a great piece. It's a Bob Florence arrangement.
He's one of my favourite arrangers, Bob Florence. I think that's...
We talked about Tom Cruise. Bob Florence is another one that we've done
He's
a lot
another
of.
sort of stalwart of the Donny sort of library, isn't he? If you like, there's a lot of Bob Florence in there. But I think that's one of his best ones, Body and Soul. Yeah,
it is a beautiful arrangement.
It's just all the proportions are right in it. You've got the obviously the beautiful piano intro, then the head again through the start of it, and it's all gentle for ages. It's really gentle, and then there's a little break, and then it hits you in the face.
Yeah.
Drama,
in the face.
Quite literally.
Yeah, it's like real master of drama, isn't he? You know, it's like that shout chorus comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then it goes up a semitone, I think.
Yeah.
So you've got that another sort of extra gear at the end, and I think the band really sort of it's feeling it together. Not that it's not like that on the other tracks, but you can really feel the sort of energy, really, particularly towards the back end of it.
I think we're used to playing Bob Florence charts, so we know what's required.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that thing of, the band are so sort of kind of steeped in that, not just that style, but particularly, Bob Florence's writing. And I was going to say we had Winston Rollins join us on that chart, which was amazing.
And he solos on that, does he?
No, he was just playing the lead trombone part on that.
Okay.
But
that's all he did.
Yeah, but I was going to say Winston had a big band in London that I remember covering a few gigs on, and funny enough, so much of that pad was Bob Florence.
Was it?
And it just just goes to show that with your dad, he was such a communicator of the things that he was passionate about. And his passion for that style of writing
was rubbed off.
Yeah, it really, it's infectious for everyone that came through the association. That I think, everyone kind of really likes that music. And this was another one that it went down so quickly that morning. It was like, there was so much challenging music on this record, and this one was no exception. But it was like it just went down without a hitch, didn't it? And that's probably because you went for that coffee.
Brilliant.
No,
Right, he's gone. We've got 1 hour.
Yeah,
you basically re-recorded the whole album without me in that hour, didn't you?
No, everyone got it, didn't they, straight away? And it just went down.
What, that job?
I think the thing with Bob Florence is that it's fun to play, but it's good to listen to as well. And some music's not like that, is it? It's like it's one or the other. But with Bob Florence, you really can dig in. But I think you can, when I've played Bob Florence stuff in the band, and you can see people tapping their feet and nodding their head, even though it might be a tune they don't recognise, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's, and they're always really long. They're always about 12 pages long.
Yeah.
You might not know this, but when the band was, in 1985, the Youth Jazz Orchestra went to America, and I went with them, and my sister went, and my mum, and I was 10 at the time, and we played a jazz club called Dante's in Hollywood, and Bob Florence showed up, and he sat on the piano and played, it was either Party Hearty or Bebop Charlie with the band.
That's amazing.
I was too young to really appreciate it at the time. In fact, I fell asleep at that gig. That my dad he ribs me for that, But yeah, that must have been an amazing moment and I think Winston was on that trip. He would have been on that. Don't think Andy Vinter was, but yeah, imagine that. Like, you're playing a Bob Florence tune and he's there, and he gets up and plays the piano with you. Amazing moment. But yeah. Great music, great arranger. So that's Body and Soul. We're halfway through the album now. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with the next one, which is Victor. So, or is it called Victor, or is it called something else?
Well, we can have that conversation.
The plot thickens.
In that episode.
Yes, right. Let's have a break.